Hi Scorpio, here's a general look at your solar chart for June 2012, and this is an important gear shifting phase for you. You're going to be moving from one stretch of road to the next, inwardly or outwardly or both, but you're weighing things up. You might be feeling a little like, intuitively gauging where you're going and how best to proceed. And you may be more conscious of the material, financial, property even aspects of life at the moment, but also within a relationship as well. So your attention is tending to be drawn inwards. You're likely to be more than a little aware of the emotional aspects. Maybe you're feeling more sensitive, or maybe you're feeling more sensitive to other people's feelings. Maybe it just feels a bit more involved in some way. And you, Scorpio, tend to keep a lid on things anyway. You tend to be a little bit secretive anyway, but you'll be even more doing this here now. You'll be feeling, as I say, gauging as you move forwards. Finding the common ground maybe, treading more carefully. That kind of thing will have more of your attention. Perhaps there is somebody who is providing something for you, who is offering to provide, or has some kind of contract or agreement, or potential one. Maybe you need somebody on board, whether you like it or not, because of what they can contribute. In a way, you have to dance to their tune. You have to abide by their rules. That kind of a thing. And so the best you can do is look for the most comfortable way of doing things, which isn't too much grief for you. But just try to avoid allowing a passing mood to rule your decisions, and then the die is cast and then you can't go back. Because, as I say, your emotions are a bit near the surface. If you listen to your gut, though, you can do very well. There's a huge emphasis on this area this year, because you've also got Venus in here and Jupiter coming into here, and you've got a lunar eclipse in that area, and also you've got Mercury there for a week. So it does look like things are sort of stacking up where you are going to have to be aware more of finding the bottom line on something, digging and delving and getting to the bottom line, but also knowing that you're reliant upon others to kind of float the thing forwards, whatever the thing is about. But Venus in that area there is altogether good news. In fact, it is stacking up to look quite positive, quite beneficial in this area, which is to do with money and more involved relationships, whether those are business type ones or romantic ones. Romantic ones can be pretty sizzly. You be pleased to hear. Now, things could become more intimate, or you feel like there's more riding on how you're getting on with someone. So it's like, this is more important to me now. And you might be holding a lot inside, so it is actually a good time to have a heart-to-heart talk with someone. Venus there really does allow for a good confidant to come your way, a trustworthy person to come your way. Also, you may be actually seeking, researching, digging and delving, researching advice, getting confidential advice on things, and that is actually easier at the very end of the month, actually the last couple of days of the month, the first couple of days of July, because Venus is going retrograde up until the 27th. So it will tend to be a materially brighter time for you, financially, materially, but also with relationship. It's tending in that direction, even though you might have to work a little bit harder, dotting the I's, crossing the T's, maybe being a bit more patient up until the 27th of July. And maybe a bit more conscientious as well, and a bit more sensitive to other people's feelings, perhaps. But for some of you, your deeper feelings are going to be touched, whatever the reason is. And fortunately for you, Venus remains in that area, which is quite a lucrative area, actually, until August 2012, and Venus rules money. So put the money planet in the lucrative area, and if you play your cards right, you can do quite well, but try not to overstep the mark. Now you've also got Jupiter coming in there as well. And Jupiter is a planet of expansion. Jupiter comes in there on the 12th to stay for 12 months. So jolly Jupiter, the big generous planet. So it's almost like you've got, I hesitate to say, a safety net in that rather financial area to do with property as well. But, you know, that's not for you to just think, oh, everything's fine, I've got a safety net, because it's always how we use the energies. And you could overextend yourself. But this may be very good news if you work the energy in the correct way over this very, very long transit. You could do well in a material sense. Until the 7th, discussions and ideas may become more involved, and your thinking has to prioritize the financial aspects, the emotional aspects in a relationship, or around perhaps looking into things to do with property, possessions, you know, how much things are costing and so on. But also, you haven't got overall control. You have to be relying on somebody else's input, somebody else's rubber stamping something, you see, as well. But perhaps sensing more than thinking would be a good way for you to proceed, particularly up until the end of the first week, Scorpio. So just trust your gut and avoid the knee-jerk responses, which always get you tumbling down that same old hole in the road. But anything you share with, or have a joint interest in with another, or have a passion for with another, or in fact you both are passionate about yourself, about each other, is going to be very, very strongly highlighted, especially more favourably so towards the end of the month. Another way it can work is a great time to be mapping out a game plan, digging and delving, plotting and planning for the future. So investigating stuff, finding out, you know, what's really going on under the surface. Perhaps looking at the psychological aspects of things, or in fact the psychic aspects of things. So being more interested in prediction, psychic prediction, astrological prediction. And also another thing, just the last point here, it is actually about renewal and regeneration, where the Sun is, and where Venus and Jupiter and a little bit of Mercury is, and the lunar eclipse. So you should be, as I say, shifting gears from one stretch of road to the next, but also along the way letting go of a previously held hope or previously held opinion or position. Because you just see that doesn't work now, it's no longer relevant. But it can also mean that you're having a declutter, just, you know, getting into the garage or the attic or your bag and just chucking out what you don't need. So it can be, you know, something that's working on the inside of you, something that's also reflected on the outside of you as well. The lunar eclipse on the 4th heralds new beginnings in those areas, so there's an awful lot of change there, I think, and some transformation potentially there. From the 7th to the 26th, Mercury's in a more outgoing area. You're not so down in the emotions when you're thinking, or in the intuition when you're thinking. You're out, you're targeting, you're pulling, gathering information to you. And you are consulting with those who've got an area of expertise that you don't, who can tell you stuff. Maybe you're connecting with those from foreign lands, you're travelling, maybe some of you, or maybe that's just over the wire. But it's a good time to beat the drum on something, to promote something, to let others know you're there, or to let others know about something that you've got, that you've created, or whatever it is. It is also a good time to teach and to advise and guide yourself, but also to call to you the teaching or the guidance that you are seeking. And definitely a good time to be plunging into an unfamiliar environment and being on a bit of a learning curve between the 7th and the 26th. Then from the 26th, discussions and relationships and paperwork and correspondence will be around where do you go from here with your project, or with your life, or with your job. Now, Mars is in the last month of this very long transit, emphasizing the group dynamic, teamwork, with several people, or like emphasizing an organization or a club or a society or a circle of some kind. And it's been there since last November, and it's got this month left to run. It'll come out in the first week of July. So in general, apart from a few conflicts perhaps along the way with others, it's been a progressive time. It should have been a progressive time. It would have allowed you to have made great progress, because you were able to realize things, make things real, make things happen that maybe you'd had to put on the back burner before. So in that regard, it very much would have helped. But your physical energy would have been well stretched in maybe team collaborations, group work, alliances, building new contacts, networking, and you'll have felt a bit overloaded at times with all the work you've had to do for others, perhaps, or for a common cause that you're all part of. You've all got an investment of some kind in, or interests in common. And Mars likes to take the lead, so being a cog in the wheel is not that easy with a planet that likes to be out in front. But then you would have found a way of dealing with that, I'm sure, because you internalize a lot of stuff and you process it quietly within yourself. But you need to offload, because better out than in sometimes. So hopefully there was somebody there, and there is going to be somebody there, because this energy is still around. It will be affecting you Scorpions born around about the 6th of November to the end of the sign, over the rest, over the whole of June and a little tiny smidgen of July. But you would have made good contacts, and you still can, over this time, and friendships over this time, and yes, and made quite a leap forwards, really, when you look back at it all. From the 21st, you'll be in a more outgoing mood and ready to check out fresh possibilities and launch into new things, feeling quite enterprising. And that's it for June. If you go to my website, if you're not there already, you'll see what the slower moving outer planets are doing. So put them both together, what the fast inner planets are doing with that. And also find your rising sign or your moon sign and listen to the forecast for that. And then when you've got all that together, you can sort out what's relevant to you and what might be relevant to you and what isn't. And I'll see you the next time.